think we're gonna do anything extraordinary, but we are gonna open up the meeting since we're not gonna be live. But we are gonna record this and send it, so that's gonna be good. All right, so we're gonna start with Joe. He's gonna start with the public comment. He has some things he'd like to go over.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know I came in very late in the afternoon. I won't reveal the actual article because I know that tonight you need to make final decisions on the articles and things are still shifting around. We're getting close. We're almost there. But I did have some comments to share with you on the general governmental matters article that deals with the Conservation Committee, a commission that is involved in renting spaces at VC Park. It seems at the moment, of course, this will change tonight potentially, that the select board is leaning towards favorable, which means that they're okay with the Conservation Committee, Commission to enter into agreements. And that contrasts with the Finance Board, which has indicated, could indicate unfavorable because they prefer to have the select board. Now, I'm not going to make an opinion as to which one is right, but as your town moderator, I love to see unity. And if there isn't unity, may I suggest that perhaps you may want to prepare a written statement, a formal position statement to defend the select board's position and perhaps even highlight the differences with the finance board. In fact, I might even take an extra step and say, what, maybe you can coordinate a statement with the finance board and encourage them to do the same thing. Say, we disagree with the select board and here's the reason why. We don't have this in government. Government is dysfunctional, but here at this level, at the town level, and in this town, we could really demonstrate unity and respect and courtesy, even when we disagree. So it's just a recommendation. I'm not saying what your position is correct or incorrect, but that's my thought. There is another article, Right to Farm. This is the only one where I might make a recommendation. We've got some time. But I had the privilege of working on the bylaw for the town administrator. And when I read that the disputes section in section 5, this is the general bylaw section. The disputes should be filed with the select board. May I recommend that perhaps the disputes should be filed with the town administrator? Why? Because the town administrator can consult with the select board, with the chair, and delegate the matter to whomever is best handled to answer the question or the complaint. So for example, it could be a fire risk, it could be a police matter, it could be a health risk, it could be a conservation matter, a ZBA mistake. So if Rebecca gets the complaint that I live next door to a farm and there's a problem over there, even though there's been a disclosure signed by me and the owner of that farm, there's a problem over there. Is it a police matter? Is it a health issue? So I think maybe the town administrator can pigeonhole it a little bit better. That's the only article I'll comment on where I might ask you for a material change. The next item, the Affordable Housing Trust. I don't want a floor fight, but there are going to be uninformed or underinformed or barely informed people that are going to believe that we have created this massive authority that is going to create compact housing in every nook and cranny of our town. So I urge everyone, the select board at this moment has not taken any position. Perhaps you will tonight. The only thing I ask is don't go neutral. Either go favorable or unfavorable. And if it doesn't jive with the other board, the finance board, same thing as before, perhaps a written statement spoken out saying this is why we believe we're in favor or not favorable, and this is why we believe it contrasts with the finance board. it's just a courtesy. It demonstrates, I think, the right thing. And it'll give people comforts knowing that leadership is in really guiding people to make good decisions. The last item, the marijuana issue, if it does come up, I'm sure it will. I won't mention the article number because same thing. The last time I attended a meeting with you fine folks, it was, there wasn't any, widespread consent. I urge you not to go with neutral, either go favorable, unfavorable, and if it contrasts with the other board, do a written statement. Really prepare well. This way here, we're not spending a long time with a long list of people, on the floor, arguing and worrying about things that they don't understand. You want to inform them and you don't want to miss the opportunity. Unfortunately, some people are just going to walk into that building at town meeting and learn about this stuff for the first time. So you, whether you're favorable or unfavorable, never neutral, my position. You want to be strong. And if it contrasts with the other board, you want to be respectful. Say, we feel that our position differs from the finance board because of blankety blank, blank, blank. I can't wordsmith it for you. That would be a conflict of interest. But these are my thoughts and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. And I know you can't get any comments back there because it's public comment. Thank you.
Well, no, since it's all regarding the warrant, we'll be going,
Mhm.
we can answer any of those
Right.
concerns or questions, because the warrant's on the article, and the entire warrant's up for
Or discussion,
discussion,
right?
so.
Sorry, I kind of just zip through and see if we have to discuss it one by one, do you think, or what?
Well, we don't have to discuss them one by one, because we already made our favorable or unfavorable, with the exception of, the, well, we were neutral on that,
Yeah.
but, the trust and we didn't really finish the marijuana. I think those are the only two, right?
That's where the.
Right. But with respect to the VZ Park, I don't mind revisiting that.
Article.
And I also don't, there was an article in the CPC about, wait a minute, give me a minute. Long week here. Oh, the Perry Park. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something. Is it okay to just ask a question out loud and you can tell, Rebecca can tell me whether there is is Perry Park as part of that CPC article being changed from a town park to a conservation restriction?
It is not.
Okay, good. Okay, because I would not want the town to lose control of a park, especially with a historic monument. And I thought I saw something at the CPC meeting where there was a discussion of funding it from open space and putting a conservation restriction on it. And I would not want to see that. I mean, it should be funded as recreation, right? Cost of recreation. That was what we voted last year, or was
That's
it?
what I have it listed as, that's
Okay.
recreation.
Okay, so that hasn't changed.
No, there was conversation about whether or not we should fund it from the historic preservation as well as open space.
Because of the monument.
But due to the concerns that you brought forward, we only limited it to recreation
Concerns I brought forward.
with the open space. Doesn't fit the open space funding category.
Right. Okay, I didn't think I brought that forward. I was more concerned that we were not going to change it and hand it over. Not that Conservation Commission's a great commission, but this is a town park.
Not you
Yeah.
brought forward, that it was brought forward of the same.
Oh, okay.
concern.
Yes, because, I mean, 10 years from now, there may be a select board here that needs that park land for something that we don't foresee. And that to me is the biggest thing with making changes.
It's already protected under Article 97.
Okay,
It shouldn't have a conservation restriction on it.
okay, that's perfect. Okay, then that one's fine. So we're gonna go to the BZ Park.
Reese Park, to see if the town will authorize the Conservation Commission to rent the on-site buildings and amenities to Reese Park for short-term use.
Right, so in clarification, I assumed this is similar to what we're doing right now, where we approve the liquor license and the document that lays out how long it's being used and what it's being used for and whether they're charging any money. Is that going to change because of this article?
No, the liquor licenses are under the authority of the select board.
They do the Conservation Commission does the rental.
Correct. They would do the agreements for the weddings, the
Yeah.
showers, the parties, so they sign a rental agreement for those particular uses. We would always do, being the select board, the liquor licenses.
And, but usually we also see like who's catering it. I mean, the form, I forgot what the form is called. No, we won't see that anymore. I'm asking.
You would still see it. It just depends on who's going to be issuing. So right now, I attach that as part of the liquor license. The agreement that they sign with the executive director, the director over at the park, that is an engagement with that person for the use of the facility for whatever event that they're holding. And then I include that with the liquor license so that you have more details in regards to what event is going on. So this article is proposing that or formalizing that process being the application that they have with the director through the Conservation Commission. The Finance Board, a majority of the members present that evening, it wasn't unanimous, had voted that they would rather the short-term rental be the Select Board, not the Conservation Commission.
So can I ask a question? Because I watched that meeting. I think you were there. Was there some confusion about what the short-term rentals actually were? Because it seemed to me that maybe there was, like, I look at the short-term rentals as, hey, somebody wants to rent a room up there, somebody wants to host a event up there. And so I don't know if there was confusion. I was a little unclear watching the meeting if there was confusion about what that meant, because someone could misconstrue that to mean like that's the rental
Yeah.
of, like, for a month or something like
Right.
that. That's not what we're talking about here. So I don't know if we just need to maybe clarify that with the finance board.
Well, could we put a definition in like short-term lease? I mean, it's not a multiple day lease, right? We don't.
It's not even a lease, it's like well, it's a rental.
Rental,
right?
but
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
like
an
multiple
event.
day. It's like and you would still see it, right?
I will only see it if it comes forward with a liquor license attached. to it.
Okay,
Otherwise,
so-
I do not.
And do we not see it now anyway?
We do not see it at all.
Okay, so if somebody has a 90th birthday party and they're not gonna serve any liquor, they just rent the room and they say what day. So the only times we see it is when there's alcohol involved.
And that's all handled by the director with the authorization of the Conservation Commission?
So they're formalizing the process to be that,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't think we should change that because it's gonna slow things down.
We don't
That
wanna be
needs
the
to-
party
yeah.
planners.
And I would see that at the finance board, there was some back and forth, but at the end of it, it was clear that they just didn't want to give the conservation, or the members who were not in favor did not want to give conservation the ability to make those determinations.
Yeah. I heard them compare it to field use.
Exactly.
To have it be the same structure as field use, but I don't know, based on the original purchase of the property, that agreement, I know that they use the term the Care, Custody, Control Conservation Commission. This, I don't know if this falls under that, but it seems like if they're formalizing it with the director, because otherwise, if we went the other way, the director would shift to us rather than the Conservation Commission, like we would.
For these rental agreements,
Right.
correct.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do that. I say we stand
I
behind.
don't feel like there's been a problem that I'm aware of with the rental, like the party planning and
I
things.
wrote the article and I chose the Conservation Commission because they operate already under that
Right.
structure, so I didn't feel as though it was necessary to bring it in. The
Right.
only one that we had talked with council on was the rental agreements,
Yeah.
because the liability falls
Correct.
much more onto the taxpayer.
Right.
So that was the only reason, so I personally, you don't have to convince me, I have it listed there, but the finance board was very adamant towards the end that it be the select board, so
And do we know why though? I mean, is it?
I think it was an authority.
To keep the processes all the same. So if someone, I think what they are, from their side, no matter what you try to rent for an event in Groveland, whether it be VZ or the Pines or anywhere, it all goes through the same process. I think they were thinking more standardizing that way.
Right, but I think it's very different to be renting something to live in versus something to host a party or a wedding reception or something. That's very different.
At the end of the day, though, if we were to change it and say it was a select board, all we're gonna do is authorize the director to sign those anyway. So
Well, we could tell them that. I mean, we just, and then all of a sudden you're gonna want maybe the conservation back involved because they might have a little more time.
Yes.
And they participate in like the outreach, right? To get people who the director,
Marketing, correct.
the director meets with conservation.
No, they're gonna start regulating that in their new process where they're gonna
Okay.
be coming monthly to their meetings and giving an update or providing a memo. But the chair right now does communicate with the director on those matters.
Okay, and then the director is gonna start to come to conservation.
can I ask one more question? Who does the just so we're all on the same page, the director reports to,
So that's what they're clarifying as well, because they're technically, they're 1099 employees, which we did receive a legal opinion in regards to. So that's something that we'll need to discuss later on, but they do need to have some type of contractual document for those services. So technically, they would be reporting to the Conservation Commission.
so in that, if they're gonna be the authority that, the individual who's responsible for signing those, then we shouldn't be in the middle of that. So
No.
And the maintenance, the cleanup afterward, I don't.
maybe we can just, could we maybe vote to just send a note to the finance committee explaining that? Because they're meeting Wednesday, right?
They are, but again, I don't necessarily think it was that based upon the feedback. I mean, because it was not a unanimous vote. I do know that there were members that agreed with the sentiment of the select board. It was only those three members, and the three members from my conversations with them were adamant about the control and authority. It didn't really matter, but I'm welcome to do that. But I just know that that's what they had shared with me.
I mean, I guess we've gone to the town meeting before with a favorable, unfavorable, if, maybe just an outreach if we wanted to see, did they want to meet with us to discuss this? If they're not interested in it, I'm not gonna force feed a memo down their throat, but how about just a short memo to them that said, we're willing to meet a little bit and right before town meeting like we usually do, or even our next meeting and,
We have to
discuss.
post the warrant, so that's my only thing, is that we
We're
can
running out.
definitely do that, but we
No,
want.
you can post it, you can go ahead, but I mean, because they can always change their recommendation at town meeting.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
They
I'm just saying, offer them the opportunity to meet with us if they want to ask us some more questions.
I understand.
Yeah. If not,
And the
yeah.
other thing is in terms of short-term rentals, because I know it's not just events. It's like the school that rents out the place.
Sure.
They've had other businesses that have had not so short-term that have been there for extensive periods of time. So that would be encompassing that. But the only thing that's different is the residential, and that's why that's separated.
Yeah.
Jason, it seems like Article 3 and Article 4 are spelled out properly. Article 3, at least the 3 residential units, and Article 4, on-site buildings and amenities at the park for short-term use. It's in Article 4, short-term use doesn't mean people living there. So I think it's spelled out correctly. Perhaps the finance board was looking at it a different way.
Would you like me to, in the summary of the article, define short-term rental?
Yes, that would be a good idea.
Sure.
Just using examples that have happened.
Well, the summer camp, right?
Yeah.
They do birthday parties,
Mhm.
wedding receptions, all kinds of stuff. And they also
And
do,
I'll extend the offer or extend the offer for the select board, for the finance board to meet with the select board to further engage on this matter as well.
yeah, if they wish to, yeah, we can put a placeholder under what, old business or something, whatever.
Okay.
If they want to come in, we can, if you glad to talk to them.
I'm sure the finance board is not expecting the selectmen to weigh in on each rental up there. It just doesn't make sense.
You know,
Especially since we've already delegated all that away.
What's that again?
Since we've already delegated all that away to the town administrator. So it would just become the town administrator, which I think, since the Conservation Commission is the one that's supposed to be managing the property, I think it should fall to them. But on that same token, we also have to verify that they're following the rules, so the town itself doesn't get in trouble. So regardless of how long they haven't been. All right, so what's the next warrant article?
Affordable Housing Trust, if we're going in that road,
Which is
Article number 11.
11.
Further comments at the last board meeting, as you can see, I did add fast changes in red. I wanted to address some of the comments that were raised. If those are acceptable, I can accept those and those will be in the document.
I'll let you talk first, Kathy, because I know you went back and forth.
No, I actually-
Questions.
I'd like to hear the other board members speak, because I occupied a lot of time last meeting. I'm curious. Where's everybody's head at? Speak your mind around the table.
Sure, I mean, I'm in favor of this. I think that it covers everything. It's the select board still retains a fair bit of control. I'm glad we clarified the investment piece. I think that's important. I think it also helps to, bring us in line with what a lot of the other towns that have adopted CPC or CPA are doing. I think there's something like of the 201 towns, like 127 or 125 of them have also adopted affordable housing trusts because it helps them leverage some of those funds better. So I'm in favor of this. I think it looks good. I don't have any concerns at this point.
Becky?
I did a little bit of research into this I like to see what other towns do. Lexington did a whole approach where I know we're not really into like, let's create a committee for this for everything, but because of the amount of money and the complexity of how this is, they actually had a committee put together to look at this, a study committee. And part of the reason they did that was they wanted to make sure that it fit into their existing housing ecosystem. They wanted to study how the trust would interact with the CPC and the Housing Authority, because that money in the trust, it's not just CPA funds, it's also the inclusionary zoning fees. So there's that divide that happens. So it's not really just a bucket of money for CPC to control. The other piece they had, they wanted to make sure there was a clear reporting and accountability responsibilities, making sure the roles were not blurred. They wanted to make sure the language was super clear, and there was a big part of educating residents about what this means, because I think there is a little bit of confusion in it. When people first read it, they might think, oh my gosh, what does this mean, right? Does that mean the Groveland's just going to buy property and put affordable housing everywhere? I think affordable housing itself can have a bad reputation, like that phrase. So I think people instantly get a little bit nervous about that, and I understand. The other piece, when looking at the bylaw that Lexington had, their trustees was a lot clearer. It said everybody, says to the extent possible, everyone shall have a background or interest in affordable housing, and have a background in finance, law, real estate, or real estate development. So they wanted that as a requirement. And also their select board appointed everybody. So the one that we're proposing, it's the boards nominate somebody, or was that?
No,
Okay.
technically, under the law, the select board is the appointing authority, but each
Okay.
individual committee would be designating a member for
Understood.
the select board to.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so that's why I saw that. Yeah, so I think for me, I liked Lexington's approach, because this isn't just a change to something. This is a large amount of money. This is a fiduciary item here. So to take the time to make sure it's done right. I also did go back and I watched all the CPC meetings. And I think it was March 9th was when it was presented. And at the end, there were questions. And then the March 23rd meeting, those questions weren't answered by the committee. So I'm not too sure if they got everything. And it just seemed like even at that meeting, there were still some questions. And I just feel like something like this, I would expect to feel like everyone's on board and they're very definitive and there's no questions, because this is a measure twice, cut once. Let's do it right. So that's where I'm at with this.
Ed?
I think that in the summary, if people are going to read the whole long article, they're going to read the summary. But I think that there should be some kind of an explanation in the summary that some of the contractors have contributed to this particular fund, and that the funds can't be expended until we follow these proper regulations. And so because that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to see for affordable housing. But they probably have no idea, some of the contractors, and why they're contributing to the fund. And I think there should be an explanation to that in the summary.
So we can do that, but there is no fund.
Well, there's money's there.
There's no money associated with the Affordable Housing Trust. The trust has, it doesn't exist and there's zero funds. We have CPA funds that can be designated by the CPA to the trust fund. And then we have the inclusionary bylaw funds, which can be dedicated to the trust if the select board chooses. But even if this trust was created and it did pass, there's zero funds. So that should be clear that in order for those funds to be placed in those trusts, CPC would need to go through the process of town meeting and allocate them. And then for the inclusionary, the select board would need to vote to move those funds.
So that should be in the summary.
Okay.
So that would be the following year then. So this would just be to build the.
Unless, as you can see in the bylaw, somebody were to make a donation or something of that nature and monies were donated to the trust. But technically, those funds don't just move into the trust. But I can add to the summary.
Summary's gonna be long.
I don't think so. The article's 3 pages. Or more. No, sorry.
Don't we have to vote on that? We left that lot of recommendation.
Yeah, we haven't fully discussed it all yet, so I know myself, I'm for it because it's something that has been under the limelight for God, ever since I first became a selectman. I've been hearing about it. James Scallion was probably the one biggest advocate of it because we didn't really have a good way to spend the money that we've been accumulating for affordable housing. And this trust gives us a ability to put the funds there if we choose to, once we get everything else in line. I believe there's a couple other things we have to form before we even consider putting money into those trusts. Like, what type of housing and where it goes, whether or not we use it for adding on to the existing building that we already have over there, which is, I know that's something that you would like to do. So yeah, I mean, like a lot of things, everything moves so slowly in government. So I'm very much in favor, and I really appreciate the work that the CPC and Rebecca did at putting this together, because I know that she worked very hard at putting this all together. Yeah.
Yes. So, I kind of call it the way I see it. I've been in this town a while, 35 years. We've been through different kinds of upheavals. We've made mistakes. We're now trying to unravel the mistake of the VZ Park, that we bought it very quickly, didn't want to let it go. Okay, I got that. But we just kind of threw it at the Conservation Commission and told them to make it work. And we never really supported or came out with a plan. And now all of a sudden everybody's pointing fingers and pointing blame, which isn't really fair, because it was the town government that made a mistake. If you didn't want those buildings leased out to conservation, it's been going on for over 20 years. It was in place when we bought it. So do we learn from our mistakes? This, yes, has been spoken about on and off for years. And I've been in town long enough to know more than just the last few years, that going back before 2010, we had an Affordable Housing Committee. They made a really good report, and then nobody did anything with it. But there was a directive, there was a plan to follow. Okay, there was something that you don't just throw money in a pot and say, oh, well, I hope we could do something. That's not a good plan. I've taken the little bit of time that I had, between work and the meetings we've had, to try to look at other towns. And what I see in common from all of the highly successful ones is that there is a 6-month study, at least. There is an ad hoc group consisting of people with backgrounds in land ownership, banking, financial management, and they look at this very carefully. The only position by law that has to be on there is one select board member. So why tie it up to an inner circle of committees that are already feeding to the CP? Why not separate it and make it a truly unbiased entity to consider things from? Why tie up and create ethics or conflict of interest problems with the housing authority people on the committee when the housing authority is asking for money where they're supposed to go? Is the money for the houses that they're supposed to be managing, or is it something that the town is doing? I mean, I'm in favor of this whole thing, but I do believe we've missed several really critical steps, and a big part of this is informing the public. We've had absolutely no public forums on this for the public. We're going to be trying to explain this at town meeting and tell them, no, don't worry, we know what we're doing. It's going to be fine. It's been talked about for too long, so we have to do it. We don't have to do it this town meeting. We could have a fall town meeting. If folks want this enough, they will show up and vote for it. They did that to purchase the VZ Park. We filled the room. I mean, the room was full. It was very clear people wanted to purchase that land. So when people want something in Groveland, they will show up. So I think seriously that we've missed that. We've missed it on the membership of the trust. It has to be very carefully thought out and opened up so that we can get the people with the right qualifications on this trust. Okay, you can't just say it has to be from this committee and that committee. There's nothing in this trust bylaw that mandates that. Why would we not open it up to expertise in our own town that was gone untapped? I really feel this is a good thing. I've advocated for it. As you know, I want to see housing added in the appropriate places for the appropriate reasons. But this is a really big step for the town. We have never before taken over $1 million and put it with a committee. And I think to do it properly, we have to be very careful and deliberate. We have to show our residents that we're willing to open the books for them. We're willing to be open and transparent, and we're going to open up the membership of it. And they're going to understand what's going on, and they're going to know that this committee is not going to go and secretly, combine with the developer and build something in a location that residents have expressed that they don't want it. I mean, we did the overlay to comply with state law, but we did that with public forums, deliberation, and I believe over a year of study, we looked at different things. This to me has come at me very fast and furious, and I've done everything I can to be open-minded and responsible. But I have done some research on some of the most successful affordable trusts, and they take the time to make sure that they're doing it properly. And I don't understand why we don't. The money is not going to go away. It'll still be there. We could have a fall town meeting if you really don't want to wait a year. Have a fall town meeting. And then by then, you would have had enough time to figure out what is the plan? What is the directive that you're giving to this trust? That should come from the town, from us. And I don't have it. I don't know what our residents will say now. We have the Merrimack Valley Planning Report. Certainly that can be a very big component of it. I know the Council on Aging has been doing surveys. We haven't yet heard about their surveys. I just feel like we should be responsible to our town. We have to represent not just what Kathy Castronellis thinks, but what do they think? And for that reason, I don't feel this should be on the warrant right now. I'd hate to see it voted down because of the fact that the membership is tied up by people already on other committees in town. It kind of locks it in. And there's been no public forums. There's no guardrails in this right now. I mean, there's a few financial safeguards, but there could be more. Other towns take time to set up those limits, to think about how much money do you want them to be able to spend? How do they do it? Who do they go to? What do you need to see? I just feel like I kind of like that it got shoved in our face right now. I have to say, thank you for that, because this is a good wake-up call that we need to get this on the front burner and take care of it, but I think we need to do it the right way, and this is not it.
I have one other comment. I forgot
Sure.
that. I did receive an email and there was another one I got as well too. There was concern from, I think there's some misinformation and confusion in this. And a couple of things that people have said that's the same sentiment is having a public comment component that people are missing out on. So there is a concern that this is a bit rushed, but this was, like I said, I watched the March 9th meeting for CPC. I think it was like over an hour. No, it was right in the beginning of that meeting. So I did watch that. Then on the 23rd, like I said, questions unanswered, voted in. I don't know if it's a good look to push something like this out so quickly, especially just hearing some of the concerns of the residents that they don't really know what it means. And that they feel they didn't have a say in it.
What do you think, Steve?
Well, again, I stick by what I said originally. I mean, I think this is something we need to do. I think at the point that no money is going into this right out of the gate without approval is an important thing to consider. So there is time, and residents get an opportunity to vote on that, because if like CPC money was going to go into it, it would still have to be approved at town meeting before anything could happen with that. In terms of the makeup of the board, I think the right parties are represented, and we trust those boards to do what they do, those boards and committees to do what they do. So I think it's a little tongue in cheek to say, well, we trust them to do that, but not this.
Can I just interrupt?
No, you
Because-
can't. I'd like to
Okay,
continue.
well, then I'll respond when you're done.
So again, I think that we have to start somewhere. This provides a good foundation to start. In terms of public comment and things like that, I mean, again, this was on a meeting agenda, so people can come in and certainly make comments. So those opportunities have been there, and I think it will evolve over time, but we do have to get that framework in place to start making those decisions. And again, this isn't like we create this and all of a sudden affordable housing is going up everywhere. Part of what this trust is going to do is look at those things. Where should we be spending time? And I think starting that, we have to start that process with something like this. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Ed? Oh, yeah, go Kathy, good.
Thank you. I want to make sure that my words aren't misinterpreted or misrepresented. I trust the planning board. I trust the committees in town. It's not about trust. This is about what other towns have done and why. And that's another part of this that has not been done. Normally, you get samples of other towns' trust bylaws. I mean, when we were creating the town administrator bylaw, we got samples upon samples of other towns. And we made charts and we presented them to the people and we talked about how would this fit in Groveland? What does Groveland need? This committee, this trust committee will eventually at some point have responsibility for a significant sum of money. And we've never had that before. And that's a big step for this town. And I don't think people are confused or stupid. I think they're looking at this and going, what are you thinking of? We haven't even had a chance to comment on it. And don't say, because our meetings are posted, doesn't mean everybody has heard everything we say. When we did the trash, we had meetings on the contract, on the cart size, on how to handle recycling, on everything. We went over and above. And I always thought that's what Groveland is. We're a community and we listen to each other. And we listen to whether people want the same committees that are deciding CPC funds, managing the trust. I don't know that that's the best idea. I think you want to have some separation there. I think you don't want to have ethics complaints. You don't want to have a distrust in the community. And the way you do that is by being really above board about this. And leaving it kind of open-ended as to the membership. Certainly, to your point, Steve, people who have those strong qualifications that are already on a board in town, nothing would prohibit them from applying. Okay, but I don't want to cut off other people in town. And when we talk about developers have donated money, They didn't donate, they had to give it over because they weren't building affordable units in their development. This hasn't been a case of the town sitting on charitable donations. And I just think that we have not done our due diligence on this in any way, shape, or fashion as a select board. I think it is a great vehicle, and I think it could be an amazing vehicle for the town if it's done properly. But you just slap it in and say, well, we're not gonna put any money in it, so don't worry. Once you put stuff in, it's, changing them, we've been through that at town meetings. People get very frustrated with, why are we striking out all that stuff we just voted a year ago? And if we know that's gonna happen, and I can tell you that's what's gonna happen, why don't we just take a step back and do the responsible thing and listen to, I've gotten emails already too, and I'm sure we'll get more, because yes, this committee could partner with a developer, give them money, and build something in a location that residents are not happy about. How do we deal with that? What should be in this thing to ensure that our community is benefiting from this, right? We want this to be a benefit to the community. We want people to trust it. That's how we got their trust for the town administrator. Initially, people were very distrustful of us bringing in somebody to be in charge. And it took a while to win them over, and then we took measured steps in the responsibilities that we allocated to that position. We let people see what the position could do. We let people experience it. And then we said, we'd like to give the position responsibility for this and this. And everybody said yes, because it was transparent and they got to hear about it and they got to question it. I think this will get on the town meeting floor and it will be a problem. And I just feel like our town meeting warrants are long enough and we have other really important business. This is not going anywhere. There's no harm to holding off on this. We're not going to lose any money. The money will still be there, but the time and the act of opening it up and putting together a small ad hoc committee for a 6-month period, give them a defined timeline. Don't let this drag out, Steve, to your point. We don't want to drag it out. Get it done, but get it done right. That's all. I think right now it's not, because we haven't done those steps. And again, I say, not that we all have to follow every other town, but a lot of towns have done this process and they have followed a process, and it has not been put it on a warrant and get it done. That wasn't the process.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Look, this is the first step, and we've been kicking the can down the road. And we just got all the ducks in a row as far as the legalities, and I think we should move forward with it.
Can I just add one more?
Sure, go ahead.
With some of the things that Kathy, you brought up, like the trust going and, selling land and developing it, or doing something with the money. If you read the article, all of those things are with the approval of the select board. There's nothing that would stop us in a situation that came forward. Maybe the trust does decide, hey, we want to develop this or use money for this, for us holding a public comment period or asking for feedback once that process happens. I think that's why the first statement I made was I said that I thought that the select board retained enough control over this process that it could, over the trust, that it could move forward. So I just want to clarify that a little bit, that many of those things, I think 7 of the 17 articles, all of which are the articles where the line items in the bylaw, all the things where they could actually act on something are with the approval of the select board. That's all.
Okay, well, to answer both of your things, again, we're picking from committees that already exist. We're locking out the public from being on this trust. You're not looking for the backgrounds that need to be put on this, and there's no kicking the can down the road. You're throwing it down the road. And it's just, I think it's just irresponsible for a select board to throw this on a warrant with 10 days notice or whatever we're giving and tell people, it's okay, don't worry. They don't have any money yet. And we'll put all these people, the same people on CPC will be on the trust board. So the same people asking for money will be on the board, giving out the money. I mean, I just see so many possible problems with this, the way it's set up right now. I can't in good faith, be favorable for this. I would have to oppose it and say you're just refusing to allow the public to have input and refusing to consider to leave the membership open except for the one position required by law. What is the harm in leaving the membership open except for the one membership as a select board member? That's the only thing we legally have to do. We don't have to define all the other parts. It's not like the CPC. That was all set out in hard form. We had to put each of these boards had to contribute a member. This is, you have to understand, this is written a certain way for a reason. It's not happenstance. It's written this way for a reason. And we're ignoring it. And I just don't understand why, because except for the fact that there's an election coming up and the optics on this look rather odd, I can't understand why we're shoving it through right now with barely 10 days notice, but that's just my opinion,
Rebecca.
and I'm glad to share it at the town meeting.
At this point, do we have the authority to remove this from the warrant, given that the CPC is the one that submits it?
Yes.
Was that your motion, Kathy?
That would be my motion. I didn't think I would get support for it. I would move to remove it and create an ad hoc committee to give it a 6-month timeline to get something done.
Is there a second?
Second, and then I want to discuss one more thing.
Go ahead.
I do like how those guardrails were put in place with the select board ownership. Where I stand is just the, for the public. I mean, I know you said the public comment is available. They can go to CPC meetings. I was watching them. I was looking at all the meeting minutes. October, no update. November, no update. January, no update. February, next month. 28 days ago, this was actually delivered as far from Innis Associates, who did a great job. But I educated myself on, and I feel like the bylaw itself is, it has those safeguards in, but from the community standpoint, it would just make them feel better to educate, really understand what this is all about. I know there's no money in it yet, but it's just something pretty big. And I'm all for affordable housing. I think we absolutely need it. And I love the idea of, enhancing behind town hall. I think that's great. We have a very complicated relationship with the housing authority. And I think that could play into this a little bit. So making sure things like that are really buttoned up. But I think for the residents to really understand, because the feedback I'm getting is they don't. So that's all I'd say.
All right, then I think the biggest takeaway from this meeting that I have is there'll be no way to add any funding to this for another year after the meeting. So I think we could take that year and refine the bylaw and request the funding to go along with the bylaw the following year. I think that would be better. We can attempt to get the people's buy-in and attempt to inform them about the bylaw and what it means and do all that in the next year while we're working towards funding it at the same time. So with that, I will call for the vote. All in favor? 3, all against, 2. So with that, we'll remove the bylaw. Yes, Joe.
I appreciate the deliberation, and I wanted to wait to see what your vote would be. But based on Kathy's idea, I would accept a charge from this committee and form a committee, bringing in some of the people that have already done this work and study this so that we can bring it back. But I don't want to do it in 6 months. We'd need almost a year, with the promise that we'd make best efforts to get this ready for next town meeting. So that's just an offer as a citizen, not as a town moderator or anything else. I'm going to be finished with my charge in the study committee for the town meeting, and I'm looking for another project. Thank you.
You have the right background, Joe, that's for sure.
All right, well, it's something we can take into consideration when
Yeah, thank
we
you.
set up the
Mhm.
committee, which probably won't be till next meeting at the earliest anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Have we gone through everything else for our time meeting?
The only thing that was whether or not we want to actually make a recommendation for marijuana.
Oh, I'm open to discussion on that.
Yeah.
Go
I
for it.
have some thoughts.
Okay.
After our town moderator spoke at our last meeting, I put some thought into what he had said. And I think we should make a recommendation, and here are my points why. When the select board does not make a recommendation, town meeting voters are left without an executive level assessment of the article. A favorable or unfavorable vote promotes transparency, which is one of our goals, and accountability by ensuring the pros, cons, and potential impacts that are discussed publicly and placed on the official record. Making a recommendation avoids situations where positions are inferred informally or where decisions appear to have been made offline or without deliberation. A recommendation also signals that due diligence has been done and that the board has considered operational, legal, and long-term implications. And in town meeting, the select board silence is not neutral. It's often confusing. A clear, favorable, or unfavorable vote tells voters where leadership stands before it has to legislate. So with that being said, I think everyone knows that I'm favorable for this recommendation. And I'll leave it at that.
Anybody else?
I had some additional thoughts.
Go ahead.
We're going to provide the diagram, is that right? Rebecca, to show people.
The GIS image for the map?
Yes, okay. So, we're positioning it even more safely than we're positioning, liquor stores, right? I mean, kind of. And the one thing that, I hear from people around town, they love this town. They love living here. Many people who are a little bit older than myself are aging in place and want to age in place. The cost of living here, the taxes, even though we've held the line on the overrides, it's still, it's still tough. And we see every year as our school population grows, that even if the school budget miraculously only went up overall 3%, we still might get a 5 or 6% increase if our student population is more. So for that reason, we've talked about trying to bring in more revenue businesses. I still want to go out the 150 Center Street. I know we've tried. I know you worked really hard and we didn't get what we wanted from it. So I'm willing to say, yes, let's try this. It's limited in where people can go with it. Given how many stores are already around us, I don't know how much interest there would be. But if it helps provide a little more revenue to help us balance, I mean, this year, the balancing, I listened to Rebecca, when she saw the size of the school budget go, oh no. And I mean, it's so hard every year, that we're so close, so tight on the budget. Within a few $100s of balancing, that something's going to give, and if this could provide revenue, this is not something I, go to. It's not my go-to, but that's okay. I also don't drink beer, really. I don't like beer. I mean, so, everybody to each his own. If it can be another source of revenue to help us stabilize the tax rate, I think that's what people have spoken to me a lot about, their fears of, future overrides. And once you're on that, the retiree's salary, you don't have the ability to get more money all the time. It's hard. So, and then for young families, I remember how tight that was too. They pay fees to the school, they pay taxes. Maybe this will help us balance the budget, even though it's not a windfall. If it helps a little bit, that's not a bad thing, as long as it's not disrupting the town.
Yeah, the way I look at it is if it removes a barrier for a business to operate in town, that's a good thing. And that barrier that exists today leads to people who may want to use that type of business going to another town that's recognizing revenue that we may or may not capture. I don't know, to the point, it's a very saturated market. But if it opens up that opportunity, I think it just shows that we are, trying to find creative ways to increase revenue. And I think, some of the feedback that I've heard over time, and I'm sure other folks have heard similarly, is that there's a perception that maybe we're not super business friendly. And I think this just shows that we are. So I'm in favor of it.
Trying to change our ways anyway. Ed?
I'm still against it. It was from the start. It's, do we really want to get into the little money? It was brought up that Merrimack last year, $50,000, a year before 30,000. Well, look, if the school budget goes up, it's going up a heck of a lot more than $50,000. And 50,000 isn't going to make much of a difference. And I'm wondering, for a grow facility, it's going to take a large amount of water. Our water isn't in great shape as it is. We're looking at a multi-million-dollar treatment facility to treat the water. And I just don't think that it's the right time to be doing that. We have limited water. There's nothing in here that indicates that they'll be able to supply it. I'm still against it. Marijuana is still against the federal law. And it's a gateway drug, whether people believe it or not. And also, the marijuana today is a lot stronger than it was back in the 70s. And I don't think we should be encouraging it. Let our neighbors encourage it. Havel's got several facilities. Well, let them do it. We don't need it here. So I'm a strong no. I'm a strong no on this.
You want to take a stance like Rockport did against liquor?
I'm sorry, was that?
You want to take a stance like Rockport did for liquor? They were a dry county right up until recently. Dry town, I should say. All right, so would somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to give a favorable recommendation for Articles 12 and 13.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? 4 yes, 1 no.
Opposed?
Mhm.
Is there any other articles that we wanted to go over tonight?
I think Joe made mention of Article 10, which is dispute process. We didn't talk about that. We want to have a discussion about that.
Oh, yeah, we can have a discussion about that. My thought was anything that's going to be coming in front of the Board of Selectmen is going to go through the town administrator anyway. So if there's a way to circumvent it coming from the board, she's automatically going to do that. So I don't think it should be listed that the town administrator would be handling the dispute because then they would expect her to have the resolution. And I think the select board itself, having 5 members, would be better positioned to have dispute resolution, where the single person of the town administrator may not. That was my thought on it.
Yeah, and then the additional thought on that, similar vein though, some of the disputes could go to the Board of Health, which is a board that is completely independent from us. So I thought it made sense to have both of those options kind of laid out the way they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the Board of Health, it really depends on what the complaints are.
right.
And like I said, all that's gonna get filtered through the town administrator.
Mhm.
So I don't think that it should be an issue.
Just trying to expand jobs.
So we have an agricultural
Just trying to
commission.
drive her out, that's all.
Doesn't have enough to do. I mean,
Yeah,
boy, look at her. It's so
That free
bored.
time,
she's so happy to attempt to get everything accomplished. Right now, get it done.
especially in April.
Yes. Any other,
On Article 2, my copy didn't have select board recommends. It didn't have a favorable or unfavorable. I wasn't sure. It was just a little housekeeping.
Yep, I just missed that.
Okay.
So what we end up doing after this is we actually print it out and we go through with a pen and we read it out loud. So
Okay.
the executive coordinator and I, so we take like
Perfect.
whole day and we just read it through for every single error we can possibly find. But if anybody finds any additional ones, I know Steve found a bunch for us. If
Steve,
anything
you're
else,
still
please
going.
let us
I
know.
was looking for something.
Oh, okay.
That sounds great.
Attention. You
I'm
screen out
worse
everything.
at editing because
Mm.
my brain will just put what's supposed to be there in there.
Just cater her meeting then.
That's why I can't read my own stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard.
2 or 3 articles at a time and then read them,
Yeah,
read them again.
I'll read something like 4 or 5 times and then stop and then look at what I just read and go, holy, that's not what it says.
But now can't you have like AI read this thing to you? Or will they not read it?
It's still sometimes.
It's not always.
It's not always good, huh?
That's very interesting. There's a word missing, it won't put it in there, that's for sure.
I can read a summary this year.
You already asked Becky.
Yeah. Not sure if she wants to.
She said she wants to.
Maybe you guys.
She's been really wanting
You can
to.
alternate.
Oh, the Becky Coffee Show.
No,
Don't.
no, that's serious because it makes it easier for people to follow, that they hear a different
Beck-
voice.
We'll discuss this.
Let me know.
We'll discuss this in our private
Want to be in the back.
Kathy, Becky, the Kathy, the Kathy executive session
You
meeting.
can alternate or take the first half.
Yeah, I think it's better not to be swinging things around.
Yeah.
It gets confusing.
Let me know.
Yeah,
I appreciate
okay,
it. Thank you.
of course.
So I do need an official vote from the board to post the warrant.
Steve's looking for something.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
You said there was one more thing.
I thought that.
Make edits, but if the board could vote to post it on Thursday or Friday, we can post it on Thursday or Friday. So we do have a.
You want
chance to go
Thursday?
through and Edit it. And have it
Thursday's
edited.
good, right?
Thursday works.
Okay, make a motion to, do I have to give the whole date and everything? That's or something, 9th?
Correct.
Okay, I make a motion to post the 2026 annual town meeting warrant on Thursday, April 6th.
I'll second that.
9th.
April 9th.
What?
You said
Say
April
April
6th.
Oh, April 9th, sorry.
I'll second it. It's
Put the
April.
number upside down.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Very good.
Now we need to review and approve, and authorize for signatures on commemorations recognizing the retirements of Kurt Rushala
And.
and Brian Belfory
Brown Belfry, but he's still gonna be working at Haverhill.
of the Groveland Fire Department.
What do you need us to do now?
Well, if we need review, approval, and authorization for signatures, I imagine that would take a vote. You can make a motion, we'll vote, and then we'll sign.
Okay, so it's accommodation, right?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to recommend that we sign the accommodation for retiring firefighter Kurt Rashala and Brian Belfiore.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? We'll sign that before we leave and then that will be done. We don't have any other thing to go over tonight. And I don't think we need to do another selectmen's time since it's a special meeting, except Becky has something she'd like to say, so.
So the Friends of the Groveland Council on Aging are having a townwide yard sale on May 2nd. They, for an agenda item for next meeting, which is next week, they want to request that the Groveland Select Board waive the $10 yard sale permit fee for those who participate in the event, and they want to request some help with public notices. So I know it's a little last minute, but April came fast for a lot of people, so I just want to make sure that's on the agenda for next time and to have people sign up.
And then they
Townwide
make,
yard sale.
and they make the little map.
They do, yeah, it's great.
That was, people like that.
Yeah, they do,
People
yeah.
were asking early for that. When's the townwide yard sale?
Yes,
Because we didn't do it, right? Did we do it last year?
yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
They did, yeah. Yeah, it's a really good event, so I just wanted to make sure that they're covered and we can
Yeah.
waive that permit
Yep, I
fee.
believe Rebecca is putting that on the draft agenda right now.
Great, thank you so much.
And Ed, you got anything?
I don't have anything.
Steve,
Negative.
Kathy?
Uh-oh.
I don't have anything as well. So with that, I think we can look for a
Motion to
Motion
adjourn,
to adjourn.
7:36 PM.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
That's a- I
Unanimous.
think that's our earliest meeting yet.